Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're putting on our detective hats to uncover a mystery that you and I participate in every single day. We're talking about the psychology of the purchase. We're going to decode consumer behavior to figure out exactly what it is that makes us click Add to Cart or hand over our hard-earned cash at the register.
So, I've got a question for you right off the bat. Why did you buy that? No, seriously, think about the very last thing you purchased. Maybe it was a quick cup of coffee this morning, or a new pair of shoes you ordered late last night. It might feel like a totally spur-of-the-moment decision, but that action wasn't random at all. It was actually the final clue in a highly predictable sequence.
Okay, let's dive into this. The textbook definition of consumer behavior is basically how individuals or households select, buy, use, and even dispose of products and services. We're looking at the entire life cycle of a transaction, but entirely from the perspective of the human brain.
All right, Section 1, the buying decision journey, mapping the consumer's path.
To really understand how this works, let's map our crime scene backward from the final purchase. Imagine you're planning a weekend trip. Step 1 is need recognition. You're exhausted and you realize, wow, I desperately need a break. Step 2 is the information search, where you start Googling destinations. Step 3 is the evaluation of alternatives. This is where you're weighing that sunny beach resort against a quiet mountain cabin. Step 4 is the actual purchase, booking the trip. And finally, Step 5 is the post-purchase evaluation. You come home and decide if the trip was actually worth the money, which totally dictates if you'll ever book with that hotel again.
But wait, here's the catch. Habitual buys often completely skip steps. Not all purchases follow that elaborate 5-stage journey. I mean, when you're rushing through the store and grab your absolute favorite brand of potato chips, you aren't doing an intense information search or weighing alternatives. You recognize a craving, you grab the familiar snack, and you buy. Boom, you're on autopilot.
Moving on to Section 2, adopting brand new products, the awareness to adoption path.
And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when autopilot just isn't an option. When we encounter a totally brand new product, our brains require a very specific 5-step adoption process. First, there's awareness. You hear about some wild new smart gadget. Then comes interest. You start actively looking up the details. Third is evaluation. You're asking yourself, does this actually make sense for my life? Fourth is trial. Maybe you test it out at a local tech store. And finally, adoption. You fully embrace it and start using it every day. It's a completely different psychological mountain to climb compared to just buying your usual toothpaste.
Which brings us to Section 3, hidden forces behind purchases, uncovering the influences. Now for the plot twist of our detective story. We all love to think we're in complete rational control of everything we buy, right? Well, actually, there are invisible internal and external forces manipulating our every choice. We call these influencing factors. Think of them as invisible strings attached directly to our wallets, pulling at our decisions in real time. There are 3 main puppet masters at play here. First, we have personal factors, your inner motivation, your perception of the world, your lifestyle. Then we have social and cultural factors, the massive, undeniable impact of your family, your peer groups, and cultural traditions. And finally, situational and economic factors, like how much time you have, your current income, and the physical environment you're standing in. Just picture yourself navigating a grocery store aisle. Every single one of these factors is pulling at you simultaneously as you walk past the shelves.
Let's make this super relatable. Your budget, which is your economic limit, plus your family's tastes, which is your social pressure, plus a supermarket promo, which is a situational factor, equals your final cart. That exact combination instantly finalizes what you end up taking home. You aren't just buying food, you're constantly reacting to a really complex real-time web of influences.
All right, Section 4, personal versus business buying, the great divide.
So, the crucial point is that we need to zoom out because how you shop for your home is entirely different from how a corporation procures its resources. The fundamental psychological difference is this. Household buying is driven by individual needs and is highly emotional. Business buying, on the flip side, is organizational. It involves multiple stakeholders and is strictly, coldly rational.
The contrast is pretty stark. Household buying is emotional and quick, driven by the individual or the family. But in business buying, things slow way down. It becomes multi-stakeholder, it's incredibly formal, and absolutely every single decision is driven by ROI, return on investment. There are very few impulse buys when it comes to complex corporate procurement.
Because of this, marketing to a business requires a completely different playbook. While consumer purchases are smaller, impulsive, and rely just on you or your family, business purchases rely on an entire buying center of stakeholders. You might care about personal benefit and brand image, but a business strictly evaluates ROI, technical specs, and supplier reliability. This perfectly explains why B2B requires entirely different messaging, unique sales channels, and much, much longer timelines. To ground this high-level corporate theory in local reality for our IMUS audience, picture a quick purchase at your local Sari store. You walk up, you want a quick snack, you hand over a few coins, and you buy it. Fast, emotional, super simple. Now, contrast that with an SME, a small to medium enterprise, formally procuring bulk inventory to stock their own shelves. That SME is actively calculating profit margins, negotiating delivery times, and signing formal purchase orders. It's the exact same fundamental act of buying, but happening in completely different universes of behavior and logic. It really all boils down to this idea. A laptop for your home is about your favorite color and the coolest features. A company buying 100 laptops evaluates total cost of ownership and vendor support. It brilliantly highlights how that dominant influence shifts completely away from personal emotion to strict, rational specifications the second business volume is introduced.
So, what is the big takeaway from all this detective work we've done today? Know the decision stage. Know the dominant influence. If you want to truly understand consumer behavior, or if you're a business trying to market to anyone effectively, you absolutely must identify exactly where they are in their buying journey and what specific invisible force is pulling them toward the register.
Which brings us to a final challenge for you to take into your day. What invisible force is going to drive your very next purchase? The next time you reach for your wallet, I want you to just pause, act as your own detective, and really analyze your habits. Are you solving a recognized need, or are you just running on autopilot? Are you buying for you, or is society holding the strings? Thank you so much for exploring the fascinating psychology of the purchase with me in this explainer. Keep analyzing those habits, and until next time, stay curious.